Assalamu alaikum everyone. How are you guys? Instead of doing past paper, why don't you explain? I did explain the entire chapter. I've explained permutations. So this is the second stream. And in the last class, I explained all the concepts of permutations and combinations. We just didn't do enough past paper questions of combinations. So that is what we're going to do today. Wa alaikum assalam. How are you guys? Okay, so let's start. And wa alaikum assalam. I would like that before we start, I'd appreciate if you guys can just like the stream and also subscribe to the channel in case you guys haven't done that already. Sir, can you do every week stream for AdMaths, like 2 days? Because March my papers. I do plan on being regular from now on. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to do 2 streams every week, as in really can't say for sure, but I will. So inshallah, before CIs, I will make sure that I cover at least all the important topics. Okay, so start karte hain. All right. Why did you already start? What do you mean? It was supposed to start. No, you haven't missed anything. We haven't even started yet. We're just gonna pick up from where we left off. Anyway, so in the last class, we looked into combinations and we saw how combinations is different from permutation. In permutation, we are interested in arranging objects. In combinations, we're not interested in arranging objects. We're only interested in selecting objects. Okay, so the order is not relevant when it comes to combination. So here I have some past paper questions which we're going to solve, and we're going to start off with some very easy basic restrictions, and then gradually we're going to increase the kind of restrictions that we have to deal with. There will be some very interesting restrictions. Must not be separated. Either a husband or a wife is selected, stuff like that. So with permutations, you have some very interesting restrictions. Now, here's the first part. Let's see what it says. An artist has 6 watercolor paintings and 4 oil paintings. She wishes to select 4 of these 10 paintings for an exhibition. Find the number of different selections she can make. So notice that in the first part, there are no restrictions. There are 10 paintings in total, and she wishes to select 4. So the way that she can do that is 10C4, whatever that is equal to, but let's work it out anyway. 10C4, that's equal to 210. They can come in paper 1. There is, in today's class, we're going to look at how to deal with NPR without a calculator and how to deal with NCR without a calculator. So today, inshallah, we'll leave no stone unturned, and we're going to cover all of permutations and combinations. Now, part 2 says, in how many of these selections will there be more watercolor paintings than oil paintings? So let's see, as far as the number of watercolor paintings are concerned, we have 6 of them. As far as oil paintings are concerned, we have 4 of them. And remember that the total must be 4. So one possibility is that she has 3 watercolor paintings and she has 1 oil painting. The other possibility is that she has 4 watercolor paintings and 0 oil color paintings. Okay, so 6C3 is the way that she can select 3 from 6, and 4C1 is the way that she can select 1 from 4. Okay, so let's work this out. 6C3 into 4C1, that's equal to 80. Then there is another possibility, which is 6C4 into 4C0. 6C4 is equals to 15. So altogether, that's equal to 95. So there are 95 ways in which she can select 4 paintings, given that she has more watercolor paintings than oil paintings. Okay. Now, here's question number 2. 4 of the letters of the word Mexico are selected at random. Find the number of different combinations if there is no restriction on the letter selector. So once again, there is no restriction. You're selecting 4 from 6. So that would be 6C4, which is equal to 15. That's it. So I know I'm doing easy questions, but the difficulty level will increase. Don't worry. Right now, we're just doing questions that don't have any restrictions as such. Then there's another question which says a team of 6 people is to be chosen from 8 men and 6 women. So that means altogether there are 14 people to select from. and we're supposed to select 6. So the way that can be done is 14C6. Okay, so let's work this out. 14C6, that's equal to 3003. There we go. So I have a doubt in drawing f inverse. How do we know if they will intersect or not? So you actually equate the function and its inverse to see if you get an inverse or not. Okay, you actually equate. That's a good question. It's a very good question. You actually equate the function and its inverse and see if you can solve the equation and get a point of intersection or not. Anyway, so here's question number 4. Let's see what it says. Mr. and Mrs. Caldecott have 5 sons. All 11 members of the family play tennis. Okay. 6 members of the family enter a tennis competition where teams consist of 4 males and 2 females. It's okay. I mean, every teacher has a different way of explaining it. So if you're comfortable with that method, then that's fine. Find the number of different teams for 4 males and 2 females that could be seated if there are no further restrictions. Okay, so there are certain restrictions, but the restrictions are that from the 5 sons and 4 daughters, you want to make sure that you select. Sorry, wait a minute. Let's find out the total actually. Let's find out the total. So notice that there is Mr. Caldecott and there is Mrs. Caldecott as well. So that means altogether, the number of males that we have is actually 5 plus 1, which is equal to 6. Okay, then as far as the number of females are concerned, so there's the mother and 4 daughters. So that means as far as the number of females are concerned, that's equal to 4 plus 1, which is equal to 5. Now, from these 6, you want 4 males. So that would be 6C4. And then from the 5 females, you want 2. So that would be 5C2. Yeah, this is a hard question. But right now, remember I said we're only doing the easy parts. We're only doing the ones without any restrictions. So 6C4 into 5C2, what is that equal to? That's equal to 150. Okay, I think last couple of questions where there are easy restrictions, and then we'll increase the difficulty level. 3 students are to be selected to form a chess team from a group of 5 girls and 3 boys. I'm sure you've done that question before. It's a very famous question. But iske jo difficult parts hai na, that will come. I am frozen again. Okay, I don't know what is up with this camera. Just a second. Okay, I guess I'm back now. Yeah. So, as I was saying, 3 students are selected to form a chess team from a group of 5 girls and 3 boys. Find the number of possible teams that can be selected in which there are more girls than boys. Okay. So more girls than boys, let's see how that is possible. Let's make a list. So we have 5 girls. Okay, so as far as the number of girls are concerned, we have 5 girls. Okay. Then as far as the number of boys are concerned, we have 3 boys. Okay. Please don't rush into it. I would suggest that you do it step by step and always list all the possibilities. So we have to make sure that there are more girls than boys, and altogether there's got to be 3 students. So we could have 3 girls and 0 boys. We could have 2 girls and 1 boy. That's it. So let's see 5C3 into 3C0. Okay, let's see what that is. 5C3, that's 10 into 3C0. So that's going to be 10. So that's equal to 10. And then 5C2 into 3C1. So 5C2 into 3C1, that's equal to 30. So altogether, there are 40 ways. Okay, so altogether, there are 40 ways. This is suitable for AS level, but it's a very toned down version. I would suggest that you check out the stream that I have, not the stream, but the playlist that I have for AS, permutation and combination. In it, I've solved some actual AS level past paper questions, and those are much more difficult compared to these. Yeah, 4 marks for this, I know, is a steal, but, well, it is what it is. A committee of 8 people is to be selected from 7 teachers and 6 students. Find the number of different ways in which the committee can be selected if there are no restrictions. So we need to select 8 people from a total of 7 teachers and 6 students. So 7 plus 6 is 13. That means there are no restrictions in the first part. So the first part would be a no-brainer. 13C8. Let's see, what is that equal to? 13C8 is equal to 1287. 1287. Okay, now part 2. No, Ahmed, I'm not frozen anymore. You're probably behind. Okay. So there are more teachers than students on the committee. So let's write down the number of teachers that we have, and let's see the number of students that we have. So more teachers. And remember, we want a committee of 8 people. Okay. So the maximum number of teachers that we can have is 7. And that means we got to have 1 student because the total is 8. So that's going to be 7C7 into 6C1. Then we have 6 teachers. And then if we have 6 teachers and we have to make a committee of 8, so that means we got to have 2 students. So that's going to be 7C6 into 6C2. And then let's decrease the teacher by 1, increase the number of students. So 5 teachers. 5 teachers and 3 students, so that's going to be 7C5, and 3 students means 6C3. So let's work this out. 7C7 into 6C1, that's 6. 7C6 is, I think, also 7 into 6C2, that's 105. Then 7C5 into 6C3, that's 420. And let's add it up. See what do we get? Plus 105 plus 6, so that's 531. So altogether, the answer is 531 ways. Okay, what's that? It's F and F1 graph drawing question where you can't equate. Okay, when I'm doing a stream on ln and exponential graphs, I'll cover that question. I can't do it right now. Otherwise, I'll have to take everybody else's request as well. Anyway, now we are solving questions where the restriction is must be selected. Okay, so this is the restriction that we have. Okay, so 4 of the letters of the word Mexico are selected at random. Find the number of different combinations if the letter M must be selected. So if the letter M is selected, no, of course, that's not okay. You have to give a value. This can come in non-calculator as well, Ahmed. This can come in non-calculator as well. So, it's best that you're prepared to do it. So it's best that you know how to do it without a calculator as well. So 1C1, this way we make sure that the letter M is selected. There's one M and we have to select it, so we do 1C1. Now you could argue that do we have to do 1C1? You don't have to, but if you do it, it'll be clear to you that you've selected M. Now notice that there are 6 letters to select from, but if you've already selected M, that means now there are 5 letters to select from. And if you've already selected 1 letter, that means now you just have to select the remaining 3. Okay? So this 5 means that you have these letters to select from. Okay, and this 3 means that you still have to select 3 more. So let's see what we get. 5C3 into 1C1. So 5C3, that's equal to 10, and 10 into 1C1 is just 1. Okay, so the answer is 10. There we go. And this is multiply, by the way, not plus. 12 people, including Angie and Ruby, are divided into 3 groups of 4 people. Okay, let's see if I can solve it towards the end. Now, here's another question. Here is another question. And remember, the restriction that we're dealing with is that a certain number of people have to be selected. So here's question number 2. Let's see what it says. Mr. and Mrs. Caldecott, so it's the same question, have 5 sons and 4 daughters. All right. All 11 members of the family play tennis. 6 members of the family enter a tennis competition, which consists of 4 males and 2 females. So we know the situation from the previous question. Find the number of different teams of 4 males and 2 females that could be selected if Mr. and Mrs. Caldecott must both be in the team. Okay? So these are 2 people that must be in the team. So how do you make sure that you select 2 people from 2 people? That's 2C2. Okay? Now this is where things get interesting. You still have to make sure that you select 4 males and you still have to make sure that you select 2 females. Okay? Now notice that you have already selected 1 male and 1 female. Okay, so by doing this, you've already selected 1 male and 1 female. Now previously, the number of males that you had was 6 and the number of females that you had were 5. Now, if you have already selected, if let's say Mr. Caldecott is already selected, that means now we have 5 males to select from. And if the wife is also selected, that means now we have 4 females to select. Okay? Now earlier we had to select 4 females and 2 females, 4 males and 2 females. Now that we have selected 1, that means we have to select 3 males. And now that we have already selected a female, that means we just have to select 1 female. All right? So we have 5 males to choose from, and we have to choose 3. And we have 4 females to choose from, and we have to choose just 1. Okay? So I'll repeat once again. It's not that difficult given that you have made sense of it. There are altogether 11 members of the family. Okay. And these 11 members of the family are such that there are 6 males, and the 6 males are such you have 5 sons and a father, and you have 4 daughters and a wife. So that's altogether 5 females. Now you need to select 4 males and 2 females. But the condition is that Mr. and Mrs. Caldecott must both be in the team. So this is how we make sure that Mr. and Mrs. are both in the team. Okay, so this is how we make sure that Mr. and the Mrs. are selected. So if 1 male and 1 female has been selected, that means we now have 1 less male to choose from, and we now have 1 less female to choose from. And once again, if 1 male and 1 female has already been selected, that means we now have to choose 1 less male. So now we have to choose 3. And now we have to choose 1 female. So 3 men to choose from 5 and 1 female to choose from 4. And that's it. Work this out. Let's see what do we get. So 2C2 is 1, 5C3 is 10, 10 into 4C1, so that's equal to 40. So 40 is the answer to this question. Okay, so I hope it's clear. If it's not, I'd suggest keep watching it till it makes total sense to you. Now, here's another question where there is a certain restriction. A student has a collection of 9 CDs, of which 4 are by the Beatles, 3 are by ABBA, and 2 are by Rolling Stones. She selects 4 of the CDs from her collection, calculate the number of ways in which she can make her collection if her collection must contain her favorite Beatles CD. So that's 1 CD. Okay, so that's 1 CD which must be there. Now, how do you make sure that this CD is there? How many Beatles CDs do we have? We have 4. Okay, and the favorite CD is just 1. So that means that's going to be 1C1. Now notice that she selects 4 of the CDs from her collection. That means now from the 9 CDs, she has 8 to select from. And she was earlier selecting 4, now she has to select only 3. Yeah, this is an old question actually. It's not a recent question, which is why we have these old bands. So 1C1 into 8C3, that's equal to what? That's equal to 56. Okay, so that's the answer to part 1. Now part 2. Part 2 says her selection must contain 2 CDs by one group and 2 CDs by another. Okay, 4C, no. The question does not say that she must select 1 CD from Beatles. The question doesn't say that. The question says that her selection must contain her favorite Beatles CD. Favorite तो एक ही होगी ना. 4 में से एक तो नहीं हो सकती favorite. There's got to be just 1 favorite. So she only selects that one. How do we make sure she selects that one? That's 1C1. Okay? Now part 2. Her selection must contain 2 CDs by one group and 2 CDs by another. So we'll have to make all the possibilities. So one possibility is that she selects 2 from Beatles and 2 from ABBA. Is that how if that's how you pronounce it? The other possibility is that she selects 2 from Beatles and 2 from Rolling Stones. And let's see if there's another possibility. Yes, there is. She selects 2 from ABBA and 2 from no Beatles. That's already considered. 2 from Rolling Stones. So 2 from Beatles and 2 from ABBA can be done by doing 4C2 into 3C2. Let's see what that is. 4C2. What is it that you didn't get? 4C2 into 3C2. That's equal to 18. Then this is going to be 4C2 into 2C2, which is going to be 6. And then this is going to be 3C2 into 2C2, which is also going to be, no wait, that's going to be 3. So 6 plus 3 is 9, 9 plus 18 is 27. So there you go. देखो favorite तो एक ही होगी ना. अगर मैं आपसे कहूँ कि भाई what's your what's your favorite food? तो favorite तो आपका एक ही होगा. Okay? So if you're thinking, the question does not say that she must select one CD from the Beatles. The question doesn't say that. The question says that she must, her selection must contain her favorite Beatles CD. तो favorite क्या होता है? Favorite तो एक ही होता है. Okay? Favorite is just one. The question does not say that she must select one CD from the Beatles. Okay? So it's not about the concept here. It's about being able to understand the question correctly. Question में ये नहीं लिखा कि Beatles से एक CD लाजमी होनी चाहिए. The question says कि वो जो favorite CD है Beatles की वो लाजमी होनी चाहिए. अच्छा, by the way, if the question, even if let's say the question didn't mention Beatles, I think that's what the idea here is, that they've tried to trick you. Even if let's say the question didn't mention Beatles, we would still do the same. Okay, so ये ज़रा पुराने questions हैं. पहले के लोग आपको पता है ज़रा smart होते थे, तो इसलिए Cambridge would try and trick them. But I'm pretty sure it's not going to do that to you guys. Okay, anyway. So there could be more. I don't think there could be more. I mean, you're very welcome to try. जब हैं ही 3 bands, so it's not possible. It's not possible. I mean, you're very welcome to tell me if there are, but किसी के एक से ज़्यादा favorite, तो फिर बेटा वो one of the favorite होंगे. Okay, here the question doesn't say that. Here the question says favorite. That's it. Okay, it singular. So that means there's just one favorite. Sigma notation? No, there's no such thing as sigma notation. You should know how to expand NPR and NCR. We're going to cover that today, inshallah. But I don't know what sigma notation to Excel में. We don't have that here. बेटा हो सकता है लेकिन इस question में नहीं है. Okay, हो सकता है, but इस question में नहीं है. And that's also not, I mean, technically speaking, favorite एक ही होता है. Okay, you can't have multiple favorites. Then in that case, you can say that one of your favorite. Anyway, part B. In a group of 13 entertainers, 8 are singers and 5 are comedians. A concert is to be given by 5 of these entertainers. In the concert, there must be at least one comedian, and there must be more singers than comedians. All right, find the fact that it's a 6-mark question indicates possibly towards the fact that there are multiple possibilities that we can fulfill the condition. Okay, so let's say we have comedians, 8 comedians, and we have, how many singers? We have 8 singers, sorry. The number of singers that we have are 8. Yeah, the number of singers that we have are 8, and the number of comedians that we have are 5. Okay. So there must be at least one comedian. तो एक काम करते हैं. Since the restriction is on comedian, let's write the comedians first. So there must be one comedian. And remember, you are selecting 5 entertainers. Okay, so make sure that you don't end up selecting more than 5 entertainers. So one comedian and 4 singers. That's one possibility, which can be achieved 5C1 into 8C4 number of ways. Okay, we'll work that out in a minute. The other possibility is that you can have 2 comedians and you can have 3 singers, which can be achieved 5C2 into 8C3 number of ways. Let's see is there any other possibility? No, we can't have 3, 2. So not bad for 6 marks. 5C1 into 8C4, that's equal to 350. And 5C2 into 8C3, that's equal to 560. So altogether, let's see what do we get. 560 plus 350, that's equal to 910. See, that's how permutation combination marks are usually divided. I know that's shocking that it's a 6-mark question, but I'll tell you the possible distribution of the marks here. You probably get 1 mark for this. 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 And then you probably get 1 mark for this and 1 final mark for the final answer. Yeah. Because this is not one of those algebra questions where multiple steps can be combined to give you marks. This is permutation combination, so even the smallest of steps carry marks. Okay. Now, another type of restriction is must not be separated. So this is also a very interesting restriction where you have some twins, you have a husband and wife, you have some brothers who must not be separated. Okay, so let's solve this question. Let's see what this says. How many different groups of 6 children can be chosen from a class of 18 children if the class contains one set of twins who must not be separated? Okay, so these are, I would say, my second favorite type of questions. My first favorite would be the number where you have a, what was that? Conflict situation. Yes. So one set of twins who must not be separated. Okay, remember twins means 2. So one way that you can make sure that they're not separated is that you select them. You select both of them. Okay, so both are selected or both are chosen. So if both are chosen, what does that mean? That means 2C2. Now remember, you had 18 children to choose from. Okay, so earlier the number of children that you had to choose from were 18, but now you have 16 children to choose from. Okay, earlier you had to choose how many people? You had to choose 6 people. Now you have to choose how many? Now you have to choose 4. Why? Because you've already selected 2. So how do you select 4 people from 16? That's simply 16C4. Okay, so 2C2 into 16C4, let's see what that is. 2C2 into 16C4, that's equal to 1820. Is that the only way that we can make sure that they are not separated, or you think there's some other way as well? What do you guys think? What do you think is another possibility where we can make sure that they are not separated? Kya khayal hai? Yes, if both of them are not chosen. Exactly. So, or both are not chosen. Now, how will we make sure that we don't select them? Here's how we'll make sure that we don't select them. Achha, I'm going to drag this here so you guys know the working behind 16C4. In fact, let me rearrange it so it's easy for you guys to understand. Okay. Now, here's how you make sure that you don't select them. The children that you're selecting from, आपने उनको उन्हीं में से ही अलग कर दिया. Okay? आपने उनको उन्हीं में से ही अलग कर दिया. But remember, you still have to choose how many? You still have to choose 6. Okay, so this is how you make sure that you don't end up selecting any of the twins. Okay, or you can do this also if you like. 2C0, अब 2C0 करें ना करें, it doesn't make any difference, into 16C6. Just like whether you do 2C2 or not doesn't make any difference. It's just, you can say it's just for your own satisfaction. But this is how you can make sure that they're not separated by not selecting them at all. So this is equal to 8008. Now the total will be equal to 1820 plus 8008, which is equal to 9828, 9828. There you go. That's the answer. How add, select, and not? Okay, I don't know. You're going to have to be a little more clear with what your question is. So let's see what this is. अच्छा इसका एक काम करते हैं. I'm not going to solve the entire question. इसको copy करते हैं. Let's crop this. Here. A team of 6 people is to be chosen from 8 men and 6 women. Find the number of different teams that may be chosen if there are a husband and wife who must not be separated. So once again, there are a husband and wife who must not be separated. So how do you make sure that you don't separate the husband and wife? Same way. So first, let's make sure that both are selected. Okay, let's make sure that both are chosen. How do we make sure that there are 2 people who are chosen? So that's 2C2. And now remember, there are altogether 14 people to choose from. Now you have 12 people to choose from. And now you no more have to select 6 because you've already selected 2. You only have to select 4 more. Okay, so that's 2C2 into 12C4. Let's see what that is. 12C4, that's equal to 495. Now there is another possibility. If you want to make sure that both are not separated, then you can make sure that both are not chosen. That's another way that you can make sure that they are not separated. So that means 2C0, you don't select the 2 people, but you also exclude them from the people that you're selecting. Okay, so you bring this down to 12. That means now you are selecting from the remaining 12 people, but you haven't selected anyone yet. So you still have to select 6 people. So that's going to be 12C6, which is equal to 924. And now the total, 924 plus 495, which is 1,419. So I hope that's clear. So if that is clear, I'd like you guys to solve this. Give you guys a few minutes, solve this, see if you get the correct answer. If it says must, then not minus. I'm not sure what you mean by that. So anyway, what's the answer? That's what I'm interested in. What's the final answer? A team of 8 people is to be chosen from 12 people. 3 of the people are brothers who must not be separated. Find the number of different teams that can be chosen. So remember, there are 2 ways that you can make sure that they are chosen. One is that all 3 are chosen. So how do you make sure all 3 of them are chosen? You do 3C3 and you separate. You're no more selecting from 12 people, you're selecting from 9, and you're no more selecting 8, you're selecting 5. So that's going to be equal to 126. Or all 3 are not chosen. 135, that is the correct answer. Good job. 135 is the correct answer. Glad to see you guys are getting the hang of it. So 3C0 into, now remember, you have excluded them from the people that you are selecting, but you still have to select all 8 people. So 9C8 is equal to 9. So we have 126 plus 9, which like you guys said is 135. Good job. 621, nope, that's not the correct answer. This is what the correct answer is. Okay. Find the number of different, team of 8 people. I have done that, but I have done a stream in which I've covered all the topics that have been recently added. One of them is recurring decimal diffraction. I've also covered surds, and I've also covered exponential decay, exponential growth and decay. Okay, so check out my 2024 to 2025 streams playlist. In it, I've covered it. And I've also covered functions recently. Anyway, a team of 8 people is to be chosen from a group of 15 people. Find the number of different teams that can be chosen if the group of 15 people contains a family of 4 who must be kept together. Okay, who must be kept together? Let's see. So one way is with the family. So with the family, that means there's a family of 4, which you must select. So that's 4C4. And now you're no more selecting from 15 people, you're selecting from 11. And you are no more selecting 8 people, you're selecting 4. So 4C4 into 11C4, that's equal to 330. Or it's also possible that you select without the family. Without the family of 4. So that means 4C0. And now you're selecting from 11 people, but you haven't selected anyone yet. So you're still selecting all 8 people. So that's equal to 165. So 330 plus 165, that's equal to 495. If question says must be selected brothers, then no minus. I have no idea what that means. There's nothing that we're going to minus here. We're just going to exclude them from the total if we don't want to select them, and if we have to select them, then obviously once you've selected them, we're going to exclude them from the total and also the number of people that we are selecting. Okay, I still have no idea what you mean by that, but I hope that answers your question. Anyway, now we have another type of restriction. I think this is the last type of restriction, and then we're going to do the group part where we divide them into groups. So this is either or. A committee of 8 people is to be chosen from 7 men and 5 women. Find the number of different committees that could be selected if the oldest man or the oldest woman, but not both, is to be included, must be included in the committee. Okay, so here's what we have to do. We're going to do, let's say there are 2 people, right? So let's say we select the oldest man. So the oldest man is in. Now, if the oldest man is in, what does that mean? That means that the oldest woman is out. The oldest woman is out. Okay? So, how do you make sure that you select the oldest man? That's going to be 1C1. How do you make sure that you don't select the oldest women? That's going to be 1C0. Okay? Now, there's another way to do this. I'll do a shortcut also, but I like to break things down and then do it. Now notice that we were selecting from a total of 7 plus 5, which is equal to 12. Now we are selecting from a total of 10. Okay? And we were selecting 8, but now that we have already selected a man, that means we now have to select only 7. So how do you select 7 people from 10? That's going to be 10C7. Okay, so that's one possibility. Or there's another possibility, which is that you do the opposite. You remove the oldest man. Okay, so the oldest man is out and the oldest woman is in. So how do you make sure that the oldest man is out? You do 1C0. How do you make sure that the oldest woman is in? You do 1C1. And now everything else stays the same, 10C7. Okay, so what's this equal to? This is equal to 120. This is also equal to 120. So the answer is 120 plus 120, which is equal to 240. Okay, अब इसका shortcut देख लो. The shortcut is that, remember, of the 2 people, you're only supposed to select one, either oldest man or oldest women. And now you have a total of 12 people to choose from. Now you have 10 people to choose from. You've already selected one person, so that means you're no more selecting 8 people, you're only selecting 7. So this will straight away give you the final answer, which is 240. Okay, now, here is another question. So can there be a situation where, yeah, of course there can be a situation where both are excluded. So just like we did earlier questions that must not be separated, तो उसमें एक ही situation consider करनी होगी where both are not selected. So there could be a situation like this. Now let's solve this question using a shortcut. Okay, let's solve this question using a shortcut. Let's see if the shortcut works over here. I don't think it's going to work because yeah, I don't think this is going to work over here. Why aren't we considering here? Because it says both must not be, but one of them must be. So the question says Mr. and Mrs. Caldecott have filed. So same question, but a different type of restriction. Either Mr. or Mrs. Caldecott is in the team, but not both. So let's break it down. If you break it down and then do it, that's the safest way. So Mr. Cold is in, but Mrs. Cold is out. So how do you make sure Mr. Cold is in? That's 1C1. How do you make sure Mrs. Cold is out? That's 1C0. Okay, now this is where it gets tricky. Now notice that earlier you had the number of males that you had were 6. Okay, now you no more have 6 males, you have 5 males. And since you've already selected one male, that means now you have to select only 3. Okay. Now, same goes for females. You had 5 females, but 1 is already out. You have to make sure that you don't end up selecting the mother, so we're going to exclude that. So now you have 4 females, and from the 4 females, you're selecting how many? You're still selecting 2 because you haven't selected a female yet. So that's going to be 4C2. Okay, so this is a bit tricky. Make sure that you understand the question very well and deal with the situation step by step. So this is equal to 60. All right, so I'll repeat. 1C1 is making sure that Mr. Cold is in. 1C0 is making sure that Mrs. Cold is out. 5C3 is to make sure that we still have to select 3 more males. Why? Because we've already selected 1. Okay, so we have already selected 1 male, so we have to select 1 more so that we have a total of 4 males. I'll explain why we're not doing 4C1. 1C0 means that we're not selecting Mrs. Cold. So we haven't selected a woman yet. Okay, we haven't selected a female yet. So that means now the females, the 2 females that we're going to select are going to come from the daughters only. So the 4 daughters we have to choose from, and from the 4 we have to select 2 because we haven't selected a female yet. Okay, so that's one possibility. There's got to be another possibility, and what's that? Let's see. Let's duplicate this. So another possibility is if you exclude the father, Mr. Cold is out and Mrs. Cold is in. So how do you make sure that Mr. Cold is out? 1C0. How do you make sure that Mrs. Cold is in? 1C1. Now, notice that we haven't selected a male yet. So now we have 5 males to choose from, and we still have to choose all 4 of them. Okay, so हमने father को सिर्फ exclude किया, we haven't selected him, so that means we still have to select the 4 males. But we have selected a female, so that means now we have 4 females to choose from, but we have to select only 1. Okay, so I know it may be a bit mind-boggling, but that's how it is. So this will be equal to 5 into 4, that's 20. So 60 plus 20, which is equal to 80. That's the answer. All right. Now, there are 2 more questions, which I think you guys can solve yourself. I'm not going to solve them. Okay? And I will encourage you guys to solve the worksheet as well. What I would like to do is, I'd like us to do this type of questions where we are putting them into groups. Okay, so I repeat these 2 questions. I'll write down the answers so you guys can figure them out yourself. The answer to this is 1050. Okay, so I'll upload these notes in the, make sure to check the link in the description. And the answer to this is 2C1. 17,136. Okay, so you guys can complete them later. So here is another type where you're making different numbered groups. Find the number of ways in which 14 people can be put into 4 groups containing 2, 3, 4, and 5 people. All right, so let's start with a group of 2. So that's going to be 14C2. Now you have 12 people left, and these 12 people are going to go into a group of 3. Okay? And now 12 minus 3 is 9. That means you have 9 people that are going to go in a group of 4. And now you have 5 people that are going to go in a group of 5, and that's it. Okay, so this is group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4. So 14C2 into 12C3 into 9C4 into 5C5, that's equal to, the answer may be a bit shocking, but it is what it is. There you go. 2,522,520. Okay. Now another question where we put them into 3 groups of 3, 4, and 5 people. So that's going to be 12C3. And now we have remaining 9 people that are going to go in a group of 4. So that's 9C4. And now we have 5 people, of which we have to select all 5 to put them in a group of 5. So 12C3 into 9C4, that's equal to 27,720. So here's how this works. We do it step by step. How many ways can you make a group of 2 from 14 people? 14C2. Now, if 2 people from the 14 have already left, that means now you have 12 people, which you're supposed to put in a group of 3. So how many ways can you select 3 people from 12? So that's 12C3. Then 12 minus 3 is 9, so you have 9 people from which you have to make a group of 4. And 9 minus 4 is 5. Now you have 5 people from which you're supposed to make a group of 5. That's it. Okay, so here also is the exact same thing. From 12 people, you make a group of 3. Now you're down to 9 people. From the 9 people, you make a group of 4. Then you're down to 5 people, and from the 5 people, you make a group of 5. Okay? Acha. Then here is a slightly different question. So here, the group that you're making is basically the same numbered groups. Is permutation and combination? No, it's just in advanced. It's not in maths. Now, this can be a little bit tricky, but don't fall for the trick. Remember the rule. The rule is that 12 people are placed at random in 3 groups of 4 people each. So the group is of 4 people each. That means the groups are identical. Okay, so here the groups are identical. So here's what we do. We start placing them into groups of 4. So 12C4. Then we are down to how many people? We're down to 8 people. So that's going to be 8C4. And then we're down to how many people? We're down to 4 people. So that's going to be 4C4. But because the groups are identical, so it's like we have 3 identical objects. How do you make sure that you consider the unique arrangements of 3 identical objects? You divide by 3 factorial. So why are we dividing by 3 factorial? Because the 3 groups are all identical. Okay, so let's work this out. See what do we get? 12C4 into 8C4 into 4C4 divided by 3 factorial, which is equal to 5,775. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys a small explanation for this. Okay. Calculator, yeah, most likely for questions where there are values are significantly large, you will be allowed a calculator. So let's say there are 4 people. Okay, so this is the explanation as to why we divide by 3 factorial. Is it because 6 people might be? No, it's not because of that. I'll explain why. This is the explanation. Let's say there are 4 people to be placed at random into 2 groups of 2. Yes, it is necessary. Okay, so here's the explanation. And let's say the 4 people are A, B, and C, D. Okay, so this is a scaled down version, which will help you understand why we divided by 2 factorial. Ab dekho, let's say that we have, this is one group, okay, and this is the other group. A, B, 2 people in one group, and C, D, the 2 people in other group. Okay. Now, अच्छा, अगर हम इसको ये करें, if let's say we do 4C2, okay, because there are 4C2 into 2C2. So what do we get? Let's see. If let's say we don't divide by 2 factorial, so what do we get? Let's see. So we get what? We get 6. Okay. Now let's look at the 6 different arrangements. What we can also do is, in group number 1, we put CD, okay, and in group number 2, we put AB. Okay. So I repeat. Group number 1 has AB, group number 2 has CD, and then we have done the opposite. Group 1 has CD, group 2 has AB. So this is just an explanation. If let's say you're not too keen on understanding why we do what we do, then this is not for you. But if you're interested in finding out why we divided by the factorial, then this is for you. Now, another possibility is that you put A in one group and C in the other. Okay. And now you're left with what? You're left with B and you're left with D. So you put B in one group and D in the other. Now, let's do the opposite. Let's put BD in the first group and AC in the second group. Okay. Now, let's consider the third and the final possibility. So the third and the final possibility is, who can tell me the third and the final possibility? The third and the final possibility will be that you put A with D and B with C. Yeah, we hadn't considered that. And then we put B with C and then A with D. Now, if you think about it, what can we say about this group? Although you can say that these are two different groups or two different combinations, but are they really different or they're not? They're the same. So this is the same, this is the same, and this is the same. So altogether, it's 4C2 into 2C2, but because the two groups are identical, we divide by 2 factorial, and that's why the correct answer is 3. Okay, so this is one way that we can put them into two groups of 2. This is another way that we can put them into two groups of 2, and this is another. Okay, so if you don't divide by the factorial, what happens is you end up considering this. How is it the same? So same two people in one group, same two people in one group. Here also, notice same two people in one group, and here also we have same two people in one group. So this is the same. Here you have A and C in one group, B and D in one group. Here you have B and D in one group, A and C in one group. So same two people in one group, same two people in one group. So therefore it's the same. AD, BC, same, and now here you have BC and AD. So same two people in one group and same two people in one group. That's why it's the same. Okay? So this is a scaled down version to understand how the concept works, and I hope it is clear. All right, so is there any shortcut to the factorial rule? Well, what I had done earlier is the shortcut, that if you see that the groups are identical, you divide by the factorial of the number of groups, if the groups are identical. All right, I appreciate it. Anyway, so the non-calculator part I'm going to save for a video. Okay, so I will make a small video where I will solve a few questions which don't involve the use of calculator. But for today's live stream, this is enough, I believe. So I'm going to stop here. So we exclude the possibility of them being in the same group. Yes, exactly. We exclude the possibility of the same two people being in the group again. Okay? Because it's not like the groups have names. Okay, if let's say you and your partner have to be in a certain group, so it really doesn't matter whether you're in group 1, group 2, group 3. Okay, it doesn't matter. Yeah, so the paper 1 part, I will make a separate video on it. Today I don't want to mix it up with the non-calculator part. Okay, I want to keep that separate. So the next stream, inshallah, will most likely be either on trigonometry of AdMaths or it's going to be on algebra. ठीक है, इन दोनों में से किसी एक में होगी. Okay, you guys can find out on Instagram. I'll most likely announce over the weekend, so you guys can join. Okay, so I'll stop here. See you guys inshallah on. See you guys the coming week inshallah. So take care everyone.